Jersey Hall of Fame. In his special presentation with his army, Mr. Henry Hascup. Thank you.
The boxing please join me, Reggie. Any of the boxing people here? Come up. You know, we're here, people from Philadelphia and New Jersey, Ring One, also New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame, Pennsylvania Boxing Hall of Fame, pay our last tribute to a great fighter, a member, a Hall of Famer, but most of all, a friend, Rocky Lockridge. He was born in 1959 and took up boxing at the age of 8. Time he was 14, he was a junior Olympic champion. He only weighed 90 pounds. In 1977, he went to the Nationals and won the AAU National Championship. That's the best in the country. Came in second in the National Golden Gloves the same year. He represented the United States of America in international competition. In 1978, he turned pro. In his third pro fight, he fought at the Ice World in Totowa, New Jersey. That's the first time I ever saw him fight live. And I knew right then it was something special. He was more than a fighter, he was a technician. He knew exactly what he wanted to do in the ring, and he did it. In just his 8th pro fight, he would win the New Jersey state title in the featherweight division over Reggie Haynes. He would go on to beat Sammy Goss, who was once in the 1968 Olympic Games. He would win the IBF USBA title. Then in his 16th pro fight, he went against the featherweight champion of the world, Perdosa. And Harold Letterman, who was one of the judges that day, he had Rocky winning by 2 points. The commentators on the TV, Tim Ryan and Gil Clancy, had Rocky winning by 5 rounds. But the other 2 official judges had it the other way. And Rocky lost. He had a setback with Juan Laporte, but then he turned it on again and fought Perdosa again. And he lost another close decision. Most people thought he won that one also. He went on to fight many other fighters. But then, he fought for the WBA Super Featherweight Championship of the World against a guy by the name of Mayweather. Not Floyd, it was his uncle, Roger. Roger was undefeated. People were thinking him as the next Joe Louis, the next Henry Armstrong. Well, it took Rocky exactly 91 seconds to prove them wrong. Because after 91 seconds, and that's counting the 10 count, we had a new junior super featherweight champion of the world, and his name was Rocky Lockridge. He defended his title a couple of times. Then he went against a future Hall of Famer, a guy that had won 41 bouts at his 43 fights. At his 41 wins, he had 40 knockouts. His name was Wilfredo Gomez. Nobody gave Rocky a chance. Figured he was going to lose his title. The commentator on the TV, Ferdy Pacheco, had Rocky winning by 6 rounds. But the judges scored it the other way. And Rocky, like somebody who said over here, he got robbed. Got robbed of his title. Then he went on to fight Chavez, one of the greatest fighters of all time. And he lost another close decision. Then he went on to win the IBF Super Featherweight Championship of the world when nobody thought he had a chance. He wasn't the same fighter then. He was going downhill, we all know why. As the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame, we honored him as our professional boxer of the year. And then we put him into the Boxing Hall of Fame in the year 2000. And I tell you, he stood up at a podium like this, and I was right back of him. And he made a speech that a college professor would have made.
Go ahead.
He talked like a college professor. He had it all together. You know, he was lucky in a way, because he had a lot of love coming his way. Heard a lot of speakers up here before. Bobby over there, Perry over here. And also this gentleman went out of his way to do what he did. And of course he had a guardian angel. An angel for 12 years, and that's Valerie. Valerie, she's seen the worst of Rocky, and she also seen the best of Rocky. But she took care of him like no one else. You know, before I left here this morning, Larry Hascup could not make it today. Sent me a letter to read. It says, "To the family of Rocky Lockridge, on behalf of the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board and the entire boxing community, I am saddened to learn the passing of Rocky. Rocky was a great champion who always fought with a great zeal and excitement. I vividly remember him as a young, inspiring referee, serving as the third man in many of Rocky's bouts at Ice World Arena in Torwood, New Jersey, and there was never a dull moment. I realize that nothing I can say to ease the great feeling of emptiness and loss that are feeling at this time. But please rest assured, Rocky is in a better place with our Creator. God bless you all. Sincerely, Larry Hascup, Senior Commissioner." You know, it reminds me of an old movie. You know, when Rocky stood up here, being inducted into the Hall of Fame, he had a lot of class. And the movie I'm talking about is On the Waterfront with Marlon Brando. And it's a classic scene in the back seat where Brando turns to Rod Steiger in the back of the seat of a car and says, I could have had some class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody. Well, Rocky could never say that, because he did have class. When he was a champion, when he was the real Rocky, he had all the class in the world. As far as being a contender, he did better than that.
That's right.
He was a two-time world champion, and nobody better forget that. You know, somebody asked me, what's the hardest job of being the president of the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame? I've been president going on 34 years. I know I have a little bit.
Sure.
34 years. And the hardest job I have is ringing this here bell. I've done it at places like this church, funeral homes, graveyards, in the middle of the rain, close to 300 times. It never gets any easier. But we, in Jersey, ring it differently than anyone else in the entire world. See, if you're in Las Vegas, Madison Square Garden, Barclays Center, or any other venue around the world, timekeeper ring this bell 10 times. We aren't ringing no. People say, why not? Because I feel part of Rocky is still with us. He's going to be in the hearts of Valerie, her whole family, her 3 sons, her grandkids, her friends, her fans, her brothers, sisters. So Rocky's not altogether dead. He's going to live on as long as you want him to. All his teachings were filtered down from one generation to the next. And before I ring this bell, I just want to say a few words to the youngsters, his 3 sons. You know, years from now, I know Rocky's a grandfather, but years from now, you 3 will be grandfathers, hopefully. Maybe some of you out there will be grandmothers and grandfathers. When that day comes, I'd like you to gather around all your kids. Put the big ones in the back, the small ones in front, maybe even have 1 or 2 on your lap. And say, kids, I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story of a great man. His name was Rocky Lockridge. He was my dad. And unlike the character Marlon Brando played, your dad, your friend, your brother, our friend, was someone. Right now, I want to ask you 10 to rise as I will ring this bell 9 times, but not in the memory of Rocky Lockridge, but in the celebration of the life he gave us all. Now Rocky has walked up them steps to the pearly gates, and the good Lord is there to greet him. As he opens it up, he gives Rocky the only true award that counts in the end. There'll be another championship belt that simply says, Rocky Lockridge, eternal life. I thank you.
Thank you, Henry, and New Jersey Hall of Fame.